And without any further ado, I would like to invite our first speaker. This is something to me very interesting because everyone today talks about venture client model. We do venture client. Most people have no idea what that is to start with, because when you see what they do, they haven't read the book, so to speak. But very fewer knows where it comes from. And that's why I invited Matthias here, because he can tell that story very well. Welcome, Matthias. Good to have you here.
Thank you. I will focus on two things. First, I will show you how venture clienting is done first. And second, I will also take a first step, maybe into some new ideas I have in mind, what's maybe next. Okay? So, first of all, it's not about venture clienting. In the core, it's about a startup. Yeah, there are so many great startups here. I put some on the slide, but why are they so important for a corporate? Yeah, and there are some main facts. First, they all solve a problem, a relevant problem, quite good, better than anybody else. If they don't, they should not exist. They're highly focused on this one problem. They are very well funded, and there's a high pressure for fast development, high growth, and be very, very fast, which is perfect for a corporate. Yeah, there is highly motivated people focusing on one problem and really into make this a success. But it's not so easy then, and this was at the beginning. So I started my journey. I was in engineering, I was in development, I was in strategy at BMW in development, and I did a lot about innovation. So we thought, okay, how can we really access this source of innovation, the startups? And we had different ideas. We had to look in accelerators. Then we decided, wow, maybe that's not the best thing to do. There was really, really a hype at that time. It was 2012, 2013. And we thought, oh, that's maybe difficult. We have to buy equity. No, we have to go to the board. We need to everything upset before. And we even don't know if the startup is quite good. So we skipped the accelerator model. Then we focused more, okay, what's really into it for us? First, we just want to use the product. They are really good in what they do, and that's what we focused on. So how can we use the product of the startup? And that was quite easy at BMW. We had so many suppliers. We are really used to work with suppliers. So how can we make a startup in an early phase and supplier? This was the thinking behind. And then we called it, because it was hard to describe what exactly we do, we came up with the name of it. We called it a venture client. We are not venture capital, we are the client, but it's still in the early phase. That's why it's a venture. There's much risk into it, but that's why we called it a venture client. Based on that, we had a look also in our infrastructure, in our company, lots of people, and we identified some main barriers, some obstacles. How can we make this work? And first of all, there was not a huge awareness of startups and what they exactly are, what can they provide. Just the points I mentioned before. Very focused, high tech, lots of experience. A lot of people have in mind, okay, these are these guys from, I don't know what's the name in Sweden, Den, or where you can pitch, and Dragon's Den. So this was in that mind. So we had to create some awareness. Then it was maybe difficult for us to find the right startup, how to evaluate them. And to do this, how to leverage it really, to scale it up. It's easy for a company to do one project with a startup. You have a highly motivated internal evangelist, a promoter. He really works till it's done. But that's not sustainable, right? It's not about a full company. How can you really build up a system that you can do this at scale? So first, we said, okay, we need a strong brand. And this was maybe one of the really success factors at that time, because it helped us to create internal and external awareness. We were just a small team, 2 people. but we had the brand, which was not common within BMW. We just set it up. We are the BMW startup garage. We have some cards here, some business cards. I looked at it and said, okay, there was someone had improved it, but there was no improvement about this at that time. So, but that helped us. And that's something we really multiplied, or I multiplied then for a lot of other companies to set this up, that if you're an external startup, you can find the right people easily, and internally, okay, there is something going on. And if I have a challenge, maybe that's these I want to go to. So the brand was one factor. And the second one, most important, was to set up really a straightforward process. Yeah, to really coming from what is the right challenge to solve? Are really startups good in that field? How to find them? How to qualify them, pre-qualify? How to define a first proof of concept? Yeah, what do they need to show? What are the main KPIs that I can decide as a corporate? Okay, we will go further with it. But always, and that's quite important, and maybe that's also not everyone is so strict about, but it's about the really business impact from day one. Even if you talk to the internal people, you ask them, okay, what do you exactly do if they show that they can provide what they said? Do you have the budget? Do you have the timeline? Where's the product? And so on. And then it's quite easy to take projects out. Yeah, there is this one project. I never had time for this. Maybe the startup can do this. That's exactly the wrong one. So the business impact always in mind from day one. And then, as you said, venture clienting, we started that at BMW Startup Garage. Then some corporates came and heard about it and said, okay, we talked to them, what we do, why we do it. And then we as a team decided, maybe there's something in it. So we spun out a company, it's called 20. So I founded this company, and then we helped other corporates to set up the same thing. We copied, we arranged it a little, but it was the same idea. We set up the brand, we set up the processes, we helped them to do their first projects. BSH Startup Kitchen was one of our first projects, and now there are lots of companies, and I think working together with startups in a supplier relationship, it's also not that new, right? It was done before. Siemens did it, but we gave it a name, and it was important for us at that time. And I don't know, I heard or I read maybe Campion, someone is here, so they are here really strong in that field and working on that. When you have a look now at venture clienting, it's not the solution to every problem. Yeah, that's why I also talk about corporate venturing. You have different tools for different targets, and you need to choose the right one. And from my perspective, venture clienting is very strong for processes, process improvement, internal, and for cost reduction efficiency. You can also do work on the product and have some cost efficiency. You change a material. Yeah, you find something special for the product. You might be able to really do some great new things, some enablers that help you get some new revenue. But when you have, and maybe here are also some corporate people, they do this. If you count it, maybe 80%, it's cost reduction efficiency. And there it's really strong because you can take them, the solution, use it, and it's not that important for your core product. So it's also easier to implement in the corporate. But what about other challenges? We are now in really strange times, maybe, and also a lot of companies have to rethink. Especially, I'm from the automotive industry. Yeah, we have to rethink what's next. What should we do? Well, we're doing combustion engine supply. Let's see. So, what is really the future business? How can we get future business? And their venture clienting might not be the right thing. You can do company building. You can do a lot of other things. But what I believe, it's not so common here in Germany, maybe, I don't know, in Sweden, but it's the venture acquisition. To really use this strategically to bring in new business that helps you to get really fast access to IP and accelerate your market entry. Yeah. And that's something, from my perspective, it's quite similar to what I did before. Yeah. There's something we can do. It's not really clear. There are a lot of barriers. There are problems now in post-merger. Yeah, the post-merger acquisition. There are other things how to find. You have a lot of players. Maybe they're not used to the startup. And so what are really the barriers to overcome, the obstacles? And how might be a good process look like for that? Or have in mind to scale it. Yeah, maybe it's not for one company, but maybe then for some companies. You say, okay, how can we find this? How can we make this as smooth as possible? What is the easy first step to do this? Maybe it's a proof of partnership. You do not a POC, but a proof of partnership. Yeah, maybe no equity at that time, but you see how can we work together. And if you then have a facilitator that helps in that process, that's maybe another opportunity. And that's something I would also like to discuss. Maybe we have the time during this event, besides venture clienting and other corporate venturing. That will be really, really great. Yeah, thanks.
Do you have any questions, Matthias? You have some time. This is your chance. Then everyone will jump on him afterwards. No? Actually, yes, please.
You see this happening in the defense industry?
We have to repeat the question. Do we see this happen in the defense industry?
Working together with suppliers as a startup, I think so. I'm not so much from this perspective at the moment in the defense industry, but I think as it is a hot topic, and I would say it should be, yeah. It should work, and it would be necessary that it works, because I think there are so many new technologies now coming on, and not every startup will get to a unicorn status. Yeah? So it must be somewhere an acquisition, or maybe you find your customer base by selling to companies in that area, and this will be then fine. Yeah, you can exactly take all the problems, see okay what's best, and maybe in the defense industry you might have also some other requirements who to work with, so to really see. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm Samir from Energy. So our observation working with corporates is that they move slow, and you need to find an internal hero. How do you usually guide and find that internal hero? And how is the process there? What's your recommendation?
Yeah. Maybe I would start how we solved that problem. First, so we were this intermediary. Yeah, we were in between. So we called it push and pull startup. There was the one startup that comes and, hey, I have this great solution. I want to work together with BMW, and let's have a look. That was push. So we pushed it in the company, and we had to pull. Our role was to find the right challenges internally, and these projects were much more successful. Yeah. Then we would find your hero, and they say, "Wow, I have to work on this. I know there is something, or I read about them," and then we will work together with that person and help that person to make it as easy as possible to work together with you. We did everything around, all the payments, all the writing the protocol, the minutes, whatever. Yeah, we supported them totally. If that's not there, well, it's sales, right? I think most important, you have to find your network within that field and find the right persons then, and make sure that they really want to buy and not just doing a POC.
In Deeptech Alliance, we have something similar, or maybe different way to do this. We only work with the corporates who want to do things and who are well prepared and have money in the pocket. So with that and a lot of good planning, I mean, we have a very good match rate or hit rate of doing business. One more question, final. Oh, it's actually one behind there. Who is it? Joachim.
So I have a question. You mentioned 27 pilots.
Yes.
So we're working with them and Bosch right now.
Yeah.
How are you related? You started them, but what is it that you do today? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. That's fine. So it's now it's run by Gregory Jimmy. Was my partner when we founded the BMW Startup Garage. And I left 27 Pilots 3 years ago. And after that, it was sold then to Deloitte. It's now part of Deloitte.
Okay,
Then I changed sites and I worked now for 3-4 years in a startup. And now I feel, okay, it's time to get back and see what's going on in corporate venturing and what are the next big challenges and where can I support and help companies.
You're at the right.
And that's Wirkfeld. That's me. Right?
But you are at the right place, Matthias.
Yeah.
Now, you have a question as well. Let's take that.
When you help corporate to set up some structure,
Yeah.
corporate, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
how, what's your experience? How do they long-term measure if that is successful or not successful?
Yeah, you have a look on some metrics, and we had always the problem that to really show the success, it might be years away. So our main KPI was, we called it then the adoption rate. We find a startup, we do a first POC, and there is a follow-on payment. There is a follow-on project. Because then it left our field in this unit, and we cannot check all the projects in a company. So it was mainly adoption rate. Then there were some others. We had to look, okay, the leveraged capital, because the startup is coming with 10 million funding. So we as a corporate don't have to pay for that. That's done by the VC. So we also put some numbers around, but it was always about the adoption rate. And that's why I put the impact so important there, especially in my old company at BMW. They said, oh yeah, you were doing this thing. And then the first question will be, what of this is in the car? That's the one question. And then you have, at one point, you have to show it. It was, I would say, about 3, 4, 5 years. That was the time we had. And then you need to show it.
In Deeptech Alliance, we have 3 to 4 years from first meeting, curated meeting to business. That's roughly how in Deeptech. That's fine. Thank you so much, Matthias.
Thank you.